The power of silence. Have you ever spoken words you later regretted? Have you ever found yourself in a moment where silence would have been wiser, yet you chose to speak? What if I told you that silence holds immense power, not as a weakness but as a profound strength? In a small monastery nestled in the mountains, there lived a wise monk named Master Li. He was known far and wide for his deep wisdom and unshakable serenity. One day, a troubled young disciple named Wei approached him, seeking answers to his struggles. "Master," Wei said, "I always feel the need to speak, to defend myself, to prove I am right. But every time I do, I end up feeling empty and regretful. How can I find peace?" Master Li smiled, poured him a cup of tea and said, "There are 5 moments in life when silence is the greatest teacher. If you learn to embrace them, you will discover true wisdom." Thus, the lesson began. When you are angry, Master Li led Wei to the monastery garden where a great oak tree stood. "Strike this tree," the master instructed. Wei hesitated but did as he was told. He struck the tree, but it remained unmoved. "Again," said the master. Wei struck harder, his knuckles reddening. Master Li chuckled. "Does the tree retaliate?" Wei shook his head. "No, master, it remains still." "Exactly," said the master. "When anger clouds your heart, your words become weapons. But like this tree, if you stay silent and grounded, anger will pass like a storm, leaving no lasting harm." Wei bowed his head in realization. How many times had his anger led to words he wished he could take back? To further illustrate the point, Master Li shared a story from his own past. As a young monk, he once reacted in anger when a fellow disciple accused him unjustly of taking extra food from the communal kitchen. Enraged, he lashed out with sharp words, wounding his friend's heart. Days later, he learned that another monk had made an honest mistake in counting the rations. Though the matter was resolved, the sting of his angry words lingered in his heart. That day he vowed to hold his tongue in moments of anger, choosing silence over regret. Wei listened intently, feeling the weight of his own past mistakes. "Master, how can I control my anger when I feel it rise within me?" Master Li picked up a smooth stone and handed it to Wei. "Hold this in your hand," he instructed. "Each time you feel anger swelling inside you, grip the stone tightly and breathe deeply until the storm inside you passes." Wei accepted the stone, feeling its coolness against his palm, a simple lesson yet profound. When others are speaking in anger. The next day, Master Li took Wei to a riverbank, where the water flowed fiercely over jagged rocks. "Listen," he said. Wei heard the crashing of water against stone, loud and unyielding. "Now," the master said, stepping back. "Observe." After some time, the river's fury softened, and the waters ran smoothly once more. "This is how people are when they are angry," Master Li explained. "If you respond with force, you will create more turbulence. But if you remain silent and let the anger flow, it will pass, and peace will return." Wei nodded. He remembered past arguments where his words had only fueled the fire, rather than extinguishing it. Master Li then told a tale of a king known for his quick temper. The king often punished his subjects harshly, regretting it later. One day, a wise minister advised him to carry a small brass bell. Whenever he felt anger rising, he was to ring the bell 3 times before speaking. Over time, the king learned that by the 3rd ring, his anger had often subsided, and his words were kinder. Wei, inspired, decided to adopt his own version of the practice. He found a small bead and tied it to his wrist, a reminder to pause before responding to anger with words. When words will only harm. One evening, Master Li and Wei were meditating when they heard 2 monks quarreling outside. One accused the other of stealing his book, his voice sharp with betrayal. Wei turned to speak, but Master Li placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Wait," he whispered. Minutes passed, and the anger outside turned into murmurs. Finally, the 2 monks resolved their issue without interference. "If you had spoken," Master Li said, "you might have added fuel to their dispute." Silence allowed them to find the truth on their own. Wei reflected on times he had intervened unnecessarily, realizing that sometimes silence is the best response. Master Li continued with another tale. In a distant village, a woman once spread a false rumor about a kind merchant. When the truth emerged, she deeply regretted her words and sought forgiveness. The merchant gave her a sack of feathers and asked her to scatter them in the wind. The next day, he asked her to collect every feather. She couldn't, for they had spread far and wide. "Words once spoken cannot be taken back," he told her. Wei felt a chill run down his spine. He vowed to choose his words carefully from that moment on. When you are unsure one day, Master Li set up a challenge for Wei. He handed him a jar filled with murky water and asked, "What do you see?" Wei squinted. "It is unclear, Master." "Now be still," the Master instructed. Wei placed the jar on a stone and waited. Slowly the dirt settled and the water became clear.
"When you are unsure, do not rush to speak," Master Li said. "Like this water, your mind needs time to settle. Only then will the truth reveal itself." Wei sighed. How often had he spoken too soon, only to regret his words later? When listening is more important. For the final lesson, Master Li took Wei to a meadow where birds chirped, the wind rustled the leaves, and a distant stream hummed a quiet melody. "Do you hear that?" the Master asked. Wei nodded. "Yes, Master. Nature speaks without words." Master Li smiled. "And yet it teaches the greatest lessons. If you learn to listen more than you speak, you will gain wisdom beyond measure." Tears welled in Wei's eyes as he realized the power of silence. It was not emptiness, but fullness of understanding, patience, and peace. Wei bowed deeply to his master. "Thank you for these lessons, Master. I now see that silence is not weakness, but the path to true wisdom." Master Li nodded. Silence, when used wisely, can heal, protect, and enlighten. Now, dear reader, I ask you, in your life, when have you spoken when silence would have been wiser? And in which of these 5 moments will you now choose silence instead? Take this lesson to heart, and you may find that the most profound truths are spoken in the quietest moments.